Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome. Very excited to be here. My name is Priya Thachadi. I'm a social impact advocate, and I am thrilled to be here today for the exciting book launch of The Circus Trap. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome the author of this incredible book, Sindhu John. Hi, Sindhu.
Hi, Priya.
Great to see you. And I'm so excited to see your brand new book right behind you there. I spot it.
Yes, I'm very excited to be here. And I think it's a fantastic platform to share this book. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, huge thank you to Crossword and the right place for hosting us today. We are very excited, and we're going to be talking a whole lot about this book, about Sindhu, her inspiration. And again, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you are as excited as I am to talk about this book, find out about the characters. I think Sindhu and her team have been really getting us excited with all their posts around the peeks into the characters. So Sindhu, I have to
Yes.
kind of dive in and talk about it again. Huge congratulations to you.
Thank
So
you.
proud of this book. So proud of everything that you've done. But let me kind of talk a little bit about the book. So The Circus Trap is actually your second book in the
Correct.
Trap series. So I am just amazed. This is really phenomenal stuff. So I think the first book, The Hunter's Trap, released just over a year ago, maybe a year and a half, right? So how did this whole thing happen? What made you decide to get into children's books? And what really inspired you to write this particular series?
Okay, so of course, if you take books, right? So I've got two daughters. My younger daughter is 8, and elder daughter is 13. So when we visit bookstores, I tend to look out for books, particularly within the adventure theme. And I did feel like there is a little something that could be added in this segment. And I'm so much about adventure, and I'm so much about wildlife. And so I think that really spoke to me, and I've always wanted to write books. I know it's a very cliched saying, but I've always wanted to write a book. So I kind of just went for it. That's pretty much how I just got into this mode of writing. So particularly because I think adventure, like I said, in my younger days, in my school days, I went to Uti in a boarding to do my studies, and there I had like the most fantastic time. We would sort of, my friends and I, we would explore the woods, and we used to have a whole lot of fun. And when I come back home, right, when I come for my holidays, here I have this really a large family. My father has 8 sisters and their children, and all of us, we used to have like a fantastic time. We had 2 elephants. My father had 2 elephants, so we would spend a lot of time with them. And so I guess that world of adventure has always been buzzing in my head, and I think that came to life eventually. I mean, I would always write, but maybe it's the lockdown. I don't know. It's something just made me finally sit down and write the story that I've been wanting to tell.
That sounds great. I have to tell the audience that, there's a little background. Sindhu and I are childhood friends. We've been friends, best friends since we are maybe like 7 or 8 years old. And we went to the same boarding school. So I totally resonate with what she's saying. And I remember that, a lot of, we would just imagine up all of these stories when we were kids, and we would act them out, we would write them out. So I totally understand where you got this writing bug. But I have to say, I think you touched on it, that of course all of this has happened in the duration of the pandemic, and the lockdown really forced you to sit down, right? I think many of us were trying to figure out, and trying to figure out a new way of life. Now you got very disciplined and sat down to write down in the lockdown. So how was that experience? I'm sure like you were locked down with your kids and your husband. So what was the experience kind of bringing? Were they involved in this? What happened? How did that evolve in your house?
So absolutely right. It's almost like a family project, if you want to call it. Because yes, my girls, right, they were very involved in the story. They've read my drafts and they've given me their comments. And my husband, he's the first one to have read the entire book. And if not for him, probably the book would be sitting, catching dust somewhere in my shelf, because I had no intention of publishing it. But yeah, it's almost like a family collaboration. And the children, Gia and Anita, have both drawn pictures. The interior, the pictures that you find inside the book is drawn by both of them, and they've both very sneakily given their signature. So if you look at for an A in the picture, very small A, you'll know that Anita's drawn the pictures, and if you see a small G, you know that Gia's drawn the pictures. But they did put a lot of effort into it. So yeah, we had a lot of fun bonding. Sometimes we would do it over dinner, sometimes while we're baking. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. The books have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds great. Oh my God. What a fun lockdown it seems. I love the idea. So I think now all of us are going to go back and look through this illustration and try to find these letters. Let's remember to do that, guys, when we're reading the book. Okay. So this is your second book, The Circus Trap. The first one was Hunter's Trap. But now this is a series, and like, oh my God, I'm so excited about that. So which means that we are following kind of the same, like the main characters, right? The protagonists are four kids. We've seen like little peeks of them, and if anyone in the audience has read the first book, you know who they are. So I just loved, like, each of them is such a unique personality, like the way they gel. I love their vibe, their energy, the way they think. So how did that come about? What do you love most about these central characters?
So yes, the central characters are four children. There is Jack, Penny, Lucy, and Ethan. Now I love these four because I think any child can relate to them, right? I mean, any children who've read the book have always written back to me and identified with either of the four. Because I mean, there's a prankster, there's a food lover, there's an animal lover, there's a cheeky girl. I mean, they just have it all. It's all in like one package. But I have to say that these characters are inspired so much by my nieces and nephews and my daughters. So I kind of steal little instances that's happened in their lives and I kind of reflect it onto the book. But yeah, I have a lot of fun with these four characters. But the core is that they're very empathetic towards animals, right? Animals really speak to them, and when they feel or when they find an animal in distress, they just cannot just let it be. They feel like they have to do something about it. So
Yeah.
that is the core where they four identify or they play as a team. Otherwise, there's a lot of fights and squabbling happening between the four of them.
Yeah, like all siblings. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know you come from a big family, so do I, and we totally understand how that is. But yeah, so that's really nice to know. So we're following the story of these four lovely kids, and in the first book, The Hunter's Trap, the setting was kind of like the wild. They were rescuing. Should I say it? Maybe some people haven't read it. Check it out. They were rescuing a couple of really cute animals. So that was kind of the setting. Now your second book, The Circus Trap, is quite different. Of course, we are following these two fabulous brats around, but the setting is quite different. I'm guessing from the name, it's okay to say that it's set in a circus. So that's quite. I was kind of, when you told me first about it, I was like, okay, I really didn't expect that. I thought a follow up would be still somewhere in the jungle. So what really kind of sent you on in that direction?
Okay, so like I said, the books are inspired by wildlife because I feel, even for me personally, when I see an animal in distress, it really touches me. It really speaks to me. So I want to touch that theme. And I think when I was sharing a story with my younger daughter, Anita, she came out with this this was before Hunter's Trap, right? She came out with this statement that, no, Amma, there's nothing like that. There's nothing like hunters and poachers. Animals are pretty safe where they are. And that's when I realized that as a mom, probably I have encouraged her to live in a bubble, right? Where she believes that everything is perfect in the world. And I felt it's very important that we kind of, in a very gentle way, transport children into this world of hunters and poachers and wildlife. And that's exactly what I've tried to do with the book. So the first book, of course, speaks about two wild elephants who are hunted down and for for the tusks. And the second book, The Circus Trap, speaks about a panther who is trapped in a circus. So against its wishes, like if you look at the cover, you see a very, very angry panther there. That's because he's there. He's there. He just doesn't like the circus. He doesn't like performing, but they use fear to kind of get him to perform. So I mean, that's the core theme in the Trap series. where animals are trapped in certain situations where they just don't deserve to be. And also want to gently tell children that they do have a voice in their own little way. They have a voice to question, to ask, to participate in probably activities that support wildlife. Yeah, so that's a gentle message that I'm trying to put across through the books.
Yeah, I do love that, and I resonate with it so much because I'm an animal lover myself. When I was 8 years old, I told my parents I wanted to become a vegetarian because I could no longer, like, bear the thought of any animals being killed for me. And I'm sure, but that's all because I had that exposure, to wild animals and generally animals, which many of the kids today may not have. So I love what you said about, kind of giving children and young readers today a chance to actually imagine and see it, wear that empathetic hat and see it from the perspective of the animals who are stuck in these situations. Really, that's a beautiful sentiment. And I think you've brought that to life really, really well in both the books. So I have to ask you, of course, about that beautiful panther that you spoke about. His name is Majestic, and he seems to be, from what you've shared so far on social media, a really beautiful creature. So what's his story? I think you hinted a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit more, as much as you can?
Yeah. I mean, I'll try to tell you as much as I can, like I said, without letting out most of the
Yeah.
story. But yes, Majestic is a beautiful panther. And I mean, as some kids have already pointed out to me, they're not used to seeing a panther in a circus, right? When you go to a circus, you usually see lions or tigers or elephants. I mean, we used to. But this is a panther, and that's precisely because in the story, Majestic was not supposed to be a performer. He was more of a pet, and he belonged to somebody else. And Miss Kaley, the lead villain, kind of in a way, stole the panther, and she forces him to perform through a lot of, by treating him very harshly. So that's the story behind the panther. He's a very gentle creature. It's not like the image that you see on the cover, but when he's provoked, he gets very angry. So that's the little story that I can let out about Majestic. But he's a phenomenal creature, and what's there not to love in one? And I think the idea of a panther kind of stuck with me when I was speaking to you and a few of my other friends. I mean, we were thinking about what to do, what should I write about next, and when one of our friends shared something about a
Yeah.
panther, it kind of just stuck to me. I really I went back and watched a few videos and read, and I was like, okay, this is the animal I want to really write about in the next book. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember that conversation. We were like joking about, after elephant, where do you really go? Because the elephant is such a beautiful, majestic animal, and really, what can you how do you top that? But I think you found your amazing characters. I'm very excited that from that like little joke, it's really that's where authors find inspiration, right? In their lives, in conversations, in what really strikes them. So very excited to get to know Majestic more. But you also mentioned Miss Kaley, and I wanted to touch a little bit on, her character. She's of course like the villain, but as we know through, like circuses have been a part of maybe like lives of when we were kids and our generation. Not so much today, but they still exist. And the people in the circus are also making a living. They're trying to get by. They're trying to survive in this today's world. So is she, what kind of a character is she? Is she a complex character? Are we going to like hate her outright? Like, give us some hints about Miss Kaley, because she looks very, very intriguing on that cover.
Yes. So Miss Kaley is a character I think you'll either love or really hate, because she's got a lot of gray in her. That she has her own tragic story and all of that. But I mean, in fact, there was one child who read the book, and his mother sent me a small video of him reading the book with Cruella's music in the background, and he was really taken in with this character. But yeah, I think she was one of his favorite characters. So I can't really tell whether people will love her or not, but she's quite fascinating, and I had a lot of fun, like figuring her story and the ending and all of that, how the children perceive her. I had a lot of fun with that. There's a lot of humor with Miss Kaley too. quite hilarious couple of chapters. So yes, this she's a very interesting character, and unlike I was almost about to give away the previous books. Yeah.
Wow.
Unlike the Hunter's Trap, in the Circus Trap, you kind of know, okay, she's the villain, and we're going to like.
Yeah.
We have to decide whether to like her or not.
Okay.
But
So
she's
we
a
know from the
fascinating.
get-go who's a villain, but she has many shades. So we don't know whether
Absolutely.
but some people might love her, some people may hate her,
Yeah.
some people may understand her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Sounds very, very intriguing. I'm so excited, and I'm sure many of you are. So, Sindhu, can I ask you, do you have a reading for us? I'm sure many of our young readers and even our, adult readers here might be happy to hear from you.
Yeah, sure. I'll read a chapter. I'll read a small extract from a chapter, if that's
Sure.
fine. An enraged black panther stood restlessly on the circus stage. He bared his teeth and snarled at everyone around him. His emerald green eyes blazed with fury at the ring of fire that crackled and flared at the far end of the stage. He stubbornly twisted his long black tail and arched his back dangerously, refusing to run forward. The small arena was filled with people, all cheering madly. The rainbow cloth tent looked radiant in the flood of lights set around it. The crowd sat restlessly on heavy iron chairs painted red, set in rows around the strong metal enclosure that ringed the center stage. They gasped out loud and stomped their feet in glee as they watched the ringleader tame the powerful beast. You better jump, Majestic, growled the infamous ring mistress, Miss Kaley. She scowled at the obstinate panther and pointed sharply to the ring of fire. If you behave stubbornly again, I'll teach you a lesson you'll never forget. Her screams and taunts were drowned out by the blaring music that played in the background. People were often surprised to find a woman as the head of a circus. But once they witnessed one of her shows, they were in awe of her. She made sure of that. She fidgeted with the long whip she held in her hand and studied the panther in frustration. She tried to intimidate him by cracking the whip on the worn out wooden floor, but Majestic refused to budge. He thrust his paws out and scratched at thin air, hissing at her defiantly. Make him jump, cried the ecstatic crowd. Miss Cayley scratched her dry, scaly skin irritably. She was born with skin that looked like that of a snake, a rare disease that covered her entire body with red, flaky scales. It gave her a creepy yet formidable look that she used to the best of her advantage. She narrowed her eyes, ground her teeth, and yelled at the top of her voice. I said, jump, Majestic.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that, Sindhu. That's the central characters and that tension between them. That was really palpable. And you kind of gave away, like, I think I also love that, like, Miss Cayley. Where did that name come from? I think I like that too. But yeah, that's beautiful. I think you could really feel the emotion on both sides, right? Majestic's anger and rage, and Miss Cayley's kind of, she's trying to instill fear in him. And wow, very, very beautiful. And I hope that gave our audience a small peek into the book, and that's getting you very, very excited to, go and get a copy right away if you haven't already. But I also want to let everybody know we are taking questions. So if there are some questions from any of our young readers, some things that you want to ask Sindhu, please put it in the chat, and we'll make sure they get answered. I do have a couple of questions already. So I'm going to, actually, the first one is from Trisha in Chennai, and it's actually about Miss Cayley. So just, really kind of going back to what you said. Of course, she looks very interesting. Maybe one thing to find out about her is that, if you are to share, what is really driving her to do this to Majestic, right? Where is that coming from? I don't know if you can share, but maybe just the emotion of why that's happening.
I mean, if you read the blurb of the book, you'll kind of figure out that Miss Cayley has a sister called Veronica. and it is mentioned very clearly that they are ardent rivals. So, of course,
Mm.
Majestic belonged to Veronica, and it is that deep anger, that she had to her sister that kind of fuels everything that she takes out on the animal. So that's the
Okay.
small, the kind of curtain of the backdrop of this entire
Yeah.
mysterious anger.
Okay, so that's really coming from a place of, like this rivalry with her sister. Okay, got it. Okay, we have another question from Arush who's 11 years old from Bangalore. And Arush asks, Lucy is my favorite character. Is she as cheeky as she was in the first book, The Hunter's Trap?
So Lucy is very interesting. Where I think a lot of kids have written asking me.
Yeah.
And there was one child who asked me, "Can you write a book exclusively on Lucy because she just loved her?" But yes, if you've loved Lucy in The Hunter's Trap, you'll adore her in the Circus Trap because she's cheekier than ever, older than ever, and yeah, there's a lot of humor. And I don't want to let out anything, but uh, Lucy is an absolute character in this book. You'll enjoy reading about her.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I think a lot of kids, like, different. Of course, like most of the kids in my life have read it and they resonate with different characters. But Lucy's definitely that cheekiness comes out very, very clearly. Then there's like the responsible one, so it's kind of really nice to see. It'll be also nice. Maybe one follow up question to that is that obviously your is does it follow like a chronological path? Like we met them a year ago. Like are the kids a year older? Has something changed? Because many of your readers are a year older also.
Yes, so they have grown a year older. The idea is that at least my first readers, the readers who read The Hunter's Trap, is also growing along with the book. So, having kept that in mind, yes, that the children have grown a year older, all of them. Mhm.
Okay, so there'll be some changes in how they're
Something.
thinking. Yeah, that's exciting to see. Okay, so next question. You touched on this a little bit. This is from David from the UK. And he wants to know why does the panther look so angry? Because you put out that image, I think, last week, which is kind of very interesting, kind of a pose from Majestic. So why is Majestic so angry? I think you touched on it, but let's answer David.
So yeah, so it's interesting because when I shared the cover with a lot of kids, I asked them to kind of get back to me on what they think about the image, right? And it was so refreshing to see that children are not being judgmental, if you know what I mean. They look at Miss Kaley and they can't decide if she's a villain or if she's not, or what's happening with the panther. I mean, they're willing to wait and hear a little from me before they decide whether she's the good guy or bad guy. But all of them agreed that the panther looked upset and he shouldn't look upset. And why is he upset? So that's like a very common question that's always popped up. Um, yeah, so although the panther, I think I've shared a review by one of the children, Jacob from UK, where he's very clearly said that although the book cover has a very angry and enraged panther, he's actually a very gentle creature, but he only becomes that way when he's provoked. So that's something he's already shared in his review. So it's safe to put it out there.
Oh, that's really nice. I guess, he's angry because also because of the pain that he's in, right? He's being made to do something that he doesn't want to. And I think that's really, I think even in the reading that you just did, I think that emotion was so strong. Like I was kind of tearing up. Okay. A couple of other questions, and I know that maybe the team is going to pass on some of the live comments to me as well. Okay, let me check. Okay, we've got quite a few. Okay, let me try to kind of get them. Okay, there's okay. An interesting one. This has come out from quite a few people, but Anisha from Trivandrum, she had asked this, and a few others as well. Is there only one animal, the panther, or are there many animals? What's going on, Sindhu? What are you giving us in this book?
So yes, I've mentioned that it's a dwindling circus, right? So earlier there were a lot of animals and a lot of performers and all of that, but Now it's a circus that's not doing so great. So there's only Majestic, but there are cheetahs, there are cubs, cheetah cubs also in the book. And I think it's again come from one of my readers, right? A child who read my previous book, and
Yeah.
he sent the most sweet review, and he said, "In your next book, make sure you include my favorite animal." It was not a request; it was more of a demand. So I said I should, I should just humor him and just write that bit for him. But yeah, um, there are other animals, but of
Yeah.
course, Majestic is the prominent character.
Okay. Okay. So there are other animals, but the story really revolves around the majestic panther. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. And I like that you're taking some inputs from kids, your readers. So I'm sure there are a lot more requests that are going to be coming in. Okay. Another question from Viraj. Okay, and this is, I think, a very pertinent question, and such a deep question from a 6-year-old. Shouldn't animals live in a jungle and not in a circus?
Absolutely. So correct. No, this is exactly why I love writing the book, because children are beginning to think, right? I mean, it's so beautiful that he questioned, isn't the panther supposed to belong in the jungle, and why have you put them in a circus? So that's exact kind of questioning that I hope the book, encourages in children. So yes, Virat, is it? Or Viraj?
Viraj, yeah.
Viraj. So yes, of course. So Viraj, animals do belong in the wild, in their natural habitat. It's very wrong to put them in circuses or use them for our entertainment. It's not right. You're absolutely correct in your questioning. But having said that, I did talk to a few wildlife experts, and they did tell me that often it's not possible to release the animals back into the wild once they've been through a lot of stress, or once they've been in isolation for a long period of time, caged. After that, you cannot let them back in the wild because they wouldn't survive. In such cases, they are put in sanctuaries, or they are where they're taken very well taken care of. So these are the two instances. But yes, animals belong in the wild, in their natural habitat, safe from man or woman.
Okay. Okay. I see now a lot more of the other questions. Okay. Okay, let's go to the question from Deepthi Menon. Deepthi says, how many books are you planning on? Will the same protagonist carry on? And so basically, the question on everybody's mind, because they love what they're hearing and what they're reading, will there be more? And will we be seeing these amazing characters continue on in the series?
So yes, I'm hoping to write about 4 books in the Trap series. I've already started working on my third, but we don't know how long that will take. But yes, with DP, I'm really looking forward to writing my next book. There will be more in the Trap series.
Okay. That's everybody. There will be more. Don't worry. Okay. Another question from Arun. He's kind of curious about the setting. I think we touched on a little bit that, circuses, we don't really see them anymore. So, how did the title come about? How did the setup come about? Is, I think, quite a few people have asked, like, how do you know about circuses?
Okay, so yes, the idea of the Trap series also came in a little later, right? I didn't really think of it being the Trap series and connecting, but I was very driven to write about wildlife. But in fact, the initial title was Majestic because it was all about panther, and I did talk to my daughter about it, and she's the one who kind of popped this Trap series idea, and she said, "Amma, let's go for this." And I think I spoke to you too, Priya, once
Yeah.
that kind of took shape, and you also kind of really liked the idea of the Trap series. That's how that came forward. Now, this whole thing about circus, right? So I had seen, I'd come across a website where there is this organization that works very closely with animals, wild animals that are trapped, and they did, they work very hard to ensure that they rescue them. And so I followed the stories of a few lions and tigers, and that really spoke to
Yeah.
me. And I realized this is one area which I haven't really thought about deeply, and I realized it's something that is could be interesting to children to kind of know that there is something like that exists. The encouraging part is I think a lot of countries have cracked down quite hard on circuses, and they no longer allow these animals to sort of be used for entertainment. But there still are a few circuses that still exist. So that's a small background.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I have a related question from Karishma, who is talking about, I think that's a two-part question. Let me try to ask that. So, I think usually, there are a lot of people who do enjoy the circus. I think, especially maybe when they were around a little bit more. And there is a belief that, they're treated very well, and, uh, you know, that's how they're treated well. There's a whole like ecosystem around them, and they're not really harmed during these performances, and so kids can really enjoy them. What is your take on that?
So when I had sort of like I'm sorry, I just lost the question because it just can you just give me a
Yeah,
just a
yeah. No, so I think the question is more about, like, are they treated with love and care in the
okay,
circus?
okay,
Because
okay.
sometimes
I
that's always
remember
an
now. Yeah,
explanation, right?
I get it.
Yeah, of why they
Yes,
can
I
belong
think
there.
when we like even in the book, right, it's kind of clearly depicted that Miss Kaley really treats the panther well in front of others. That's another message that I'm sending out to children, because when you see the performance as an audience, she kind of has a disclaimer after the show. She says, "Listen, these whips are just made of satin. I just use it to just sort of like just play, just sort of it's a show for all of you, right?"
Yeah,
But in truth, almost all the animals that you see in circuses, if you do a little bit of research and you do, watch a few videos or read up on them, you'll find that it's just fear, right? It's just fear instilled in them. They're literally tortured and tormented so that they sort of reflect or react when certain signals are given to them. So it's entirely in torture. There is no two ways about it. So what you see and what happens in the backstage is entirely different. Um, that is something I think we all know, and if you read about it, I mean, you'll be kind of astounded. You'll be shocked. You'll even think, how come I didn't see it when I was a child, and when I did see the circuses, how come I didn't think of it like that?
yeah, yeah. That's very true, and I really kind of echo that. Sometimes we really are not thinking, or most of the time we're not really thinking from the perspective of the animal which really belongs in the wild. Its place is not in our world. And what I love about this book is that it really kind of it shows it's not so black and white, right? It's not like, oh, like the circus people are just complete villains, and they're also doing it because they love it and they're trying to bring a certain entertainment and value to the audience. But at the same time, the animal, that's not their role. They don't belong in those cages, they don't belong on that stage, they belong in the wild. And I think that's a theme that comes across so strongly across your books. And I really encourage everybody here, if you haven't got the book already, get onto it, give it to as many kids as possible, because it's a world that we didn't I wish I had this book. I kind of discovered the world of animals on my own, and just was kind of compassionate. But I know that, for example, it took my siblings a long time to kind of figure out, like, why is an 8-year-old becoming a vegetarian and talking about animal rights, right? Like, my whole family made fun of me at that time. But then they all kind of caught on. But so it takes time. So again, I would highly encourage everyone to spread the word about this beautiful message that animals do belong in the wild. And Sindhu has brought us 2 books to tell that story so beautifully. Okay, a couple more questions. And I think maybe you touched on this a little bit. So you said you did a bit of research kind of on the panther, but also around kind of the circus life, because you're actually depicting a whole world of how the circus works, and all the mechanics. So what was your research process was another question.
Okay, so yeah, I did read up a lot, and it was fun. I mean, of course, there are so many forums online, right? You can
Yeah.
really dive in, and there's unlimited knowledge and unlimited things that you'll find. You can really zero down and find so much of facts out there. So yes, I did. I did do it. I think almost a week or 10 days of, like, a deep dive into the characters and the setting and the circus and all of that. So that's what I do.
Wow, yeah, it's a whole different world. Like I had totally forgotten about that world for a long time. I didn't, thought about it until you told me about the book. So that's really exciting. Okay, I think you touched on this as another question from kind of Rinky, which says, are any of the characters, and I think you have to really pause before you think before you answer this, among the Undaunted Four, are any of them inspired by your two kids?
Absolutely. So yes, Penny has a lot of Gia in her, and Lucy has a lot of Anita in her. But like I said, there is also a blend of nieces and nephews and bits and pieces of my favorite children. It's all there, right? But yeah, there is a lot of them in these two characters. And they've always stressed. They said, Amma, if you're going to mention that, we are the characters, just make sure you say only the positives are ours. Like, Lucy is called Lazy Lucy in the first book, and Anita didn't like her very much. She said, "I'm not lazy." So yes,
Yeah.
a lot of them. I mean, a lot of those characters do reflect on my two daughters. That's definitely there.
That's great. Yeah, yeah. All the good bits, all the best bits of both your children, Priya and Anita, are there. Okay, like we got you girls. We know that's the part. Maybe some of the naughty bits as well, but okay, we
Maybe.
won't go into that. But that's really great to hear. All right, I know that we're kind of coming towards the end of time, and what I'm so wowed by everything that you've achieved, Sindhu, in the last kind of year and a half. But I know a lot has gone into it. Like we've been on like endless calls, just thinking through like from the story to getting the book out. And I know you have a few shout outs to give. So, over to you to do that.
Yes. So, like I said, I'm from this really large family, right? And we're all so interconnected in such a special way. I have to, mention many of them here. I mean, my parents, Dr. Abraham Tayil, Amini Tayil, A.C. Chumar, and Anita Matthew. These are four people who are core to my being. So they make everything possible for me, my dreams. So I'm very grateful to them. And of course my siblings and my brothers-in-law and co-sisters and sisters-in-law and my nieces and nephews. Now I'm just going to just zip their name. I mean, just zip past their names because it's going to make them really happy. I just want to take this moment to just zoom in on their names. So there's
Totally,
Amy.
you should.
There's Amy, Leah, Liz, Joe, Abraham, Matthew, Maria, Anya, Joe, CJ, Clara, and Baby Chumar. So these are all bits and pieces of all the characters that you guys are reading about. So just wanted to, just speak about them. And Kalp, who's the brilliant illustrator. I have to really give him thanks because he literally does magic with his art. From team Crosswords, Rinky and Manish and team, I mean, they were phenomenal. So I was in very, very good hands this time around, and I'm very grateful to them. Want to give them a big thank them in particular. And of course, I have a battalion of friends. I'm just going to say their code names. They know who they are. There's Terrific 20, my school friends. There's BFF or Best Friends Forever, my friends from Mounts, and there's Athena. So they're almost like family to me. So just want to tell these guys a big thank you. And my teachers, because I feel I really wouldn't be where I am. I mean, Priya, you know how involved they were in our lives, and I think all the teachers in my life. I mean, there's also Nalini Miss and Deepthi Menon and a whole lot of teachers from Nazareth who've been very crucial to shaping me and helping me write this book. And of course, last but not the least, my husband, because if it was not for him, these books would definitely be gathering dust somewhere. I was just didn't feel up to sharing it with the world, but he played a role there. And my girls, because they are my world. So I just want to give a shout out to all of them. I really hope I haven't missed anybody, but everyone in my family definitely, because they're like this really, really large family and they all mean a lot to me.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, there's so much that goes into everything that we do. And I know that, you're a mom, you're a working mom, and, the family support is so important to get this out. So Thanks to everybody there. And before we go, I know we're like in the last couple of minutes, but I know that I've been seeing some really cute reviews from our young readers. So I wanted to know if, were there any like that you can want to kind of just recall, because they're really, really sweet. And they are really into this book. Some of them have already ordered and read. So could you just share a couple of, feedback that you've got from some of our young readers?
Absolutely. So I think the first review that I got was from UK. It's from a little boy called Jacob, and he sent me this really sweet review. And after which he did something very special, right? So he bought a copy of the Hunter's Trap and the Circus Trap, and he gave it to his school library. Okay, I mean, that was really touching for me. I mean, he didn't have to do that. He went out of his way, and his class teacher and all the students from his class, they've sent me a personalized message thanking me for the book. I mean, I thought that was really sweet. So Jacob definitely, and there was Tanisha, who I think in her first review of the Hunter's Trap, she gave away the exciting part. She was all excited, and then I had to sort of edit the video. And again, she shared a beautiful review, and she's picked this as a favorite book for her school, and she's shared it with her friends. And there are a whole lot of reviews. I mean, there's even a 5-year-old little girl who's been reading it, and her mom sent me a video of her just trying to 5-year-old. It amazed me. I mean, she's also abroad, but it was nice to see her try to sort of she's eager to know what's happening next. So, and there are a lot of them writing in, and there are a lot of kids still reading, because the book is quite, it'll take a little time for kids to sort of read the entire book. But
Yeah.
it's wonderful to hear. I mean, like I said, I mean, when you said to give a shout out, I think the biggest shout out has to be to these children, because they've motivated me to write the second. They really pushed me, and I didn't want the gap to be so much that they grow up and they can't, they find
Yeah,
the
yeah.
book small. That's why I was really quick in writing the second book.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure because you have to keep up with them. But
Yeah.
that's really sweet. And, keep those reviews coming in. We are, and as Sindhu said, now it's available. So, Sindhu, where can our audience pick up your book right now?
So yes, now it's available in Crossword. You'll find it on their online store and even in their physical stores. It's out there. So I'm really excited. I'm hoping to visit a few of the stores and do a little bit of storytelling. I mean, we'll keep everybody posted if that's happening, if and when that's happening. But really looking forward to it. You will find the books in the Crossword stores.
That's wonderful to hear. So, everybody, you know where it is. And, I know there's a lot of interest, and I'll reserve my last question about what's next. But thank you again for joining us so much. As Sindhu said, the books are now available. It's available for you. You can see it a little bit peeking there right behind Sindhu. Don't forget to grab your copy. If you already have one, just let other children know, because this is the beautiful message of the Trap series, that animals, they belong in the wild. That's their place. That's their home. And through these beautiful stories that Sindhu is telling us, and for our children to read, and even for us as adults to read, is that you can see it from the perspective of these beautiful, gorgeous animals who really belong in their natural habitat. So there, you know where to get it, and I hope you right there and go place that order, or you're going to drive on the weekend to your Crossword store and get hold of it. But Sindhu, final question before we go. This is a question from Ishani in Cochin. What's next for the Trap series? When is your next book coming out?
So yes, I've started writing the third book, and I'm just not ready to give anything away as of now, because I mean, as even you know, when we start writing the first draft, the second can be something that's entirely different. But yes, Ishani, I've started writing, and I'll keep you posted. I'll keep all of you posted when it's ready and ready to be put out there. Thank you for that question.
Oh, beautiful. So everyone, Sindhu is on it. She's feeling all the pressure from us and all the young readers. But right now, you can pick up the Circus Trap. If you haven't read the Hunter's Trap, that's also available. please make sure that everybody knows about this book, this beautiful, beautiful story that really needs to be told. So thank you again, Sindhu. I'm so proud of you. And I'm looking forward to your journey as an author, and really hoping that children everywhere will read these stories and be inspired, because these animals, they deserve our love and they belong in their homes. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Have a
Thank you,
great
Priya.
evening. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.